We welcome you back to Fresh Outlook. It's always nice to have your company. Well, during President Obama's hour-long address on Tuesday, the president focused on energy policy, immigration, unemployment insurance, education, a higher minimum wage, and national security. But many argue he laid out very modest goals. Let's take a look and talk it out.
U.S. President Barack Obama vowed on Tuesday to bypass a divided Congress and take action on his own to bolster America's middle class in a State of the Union speech that he used to try to breathe new life into his second term after a troubled year. Obama's orders included a wage hike for federal contract workers. He said he was driven to act by the widening gap between rich and poor and the fact that while the stock market has soared, average wages have barely budged. That's why he visited Costco in Maryland, a business that Obama said is taking the leadership to pay its workers fair wages.
Nobody who works full-time should ever have to raise a family in poverty. And that is why I firmly believe it's time to give America a raise.
On the other hand, some Republican lawmakers didn't have a favorable opinion over the proposed wage increase.
This affects not one current contract. It only affects future contracts with the federal government. And so I think the question is, how many people, Mr. President, will this executive action actually help?
Minimum wage is a crucial issue that has taken on a higher profile amid the growing public debate about income inequality. A Quinnipiac University poll this month found that 71% of Americans are in favor of raising the minimum wage. However, the public still has mixed feelings on the proposal.
I mean, I guess we just have to kind of see if that actually works. I know there's some people who say that it won't have much of an effect. So, yeah, I don't know, kind of a wait-and-see approach.
A close friend of mine owns a restaurant in D.C., and that would force him to not only limit people's hours, which hurts the workers, but it's not very small business friendly.
Just too low. I mean, it's not a living wage. You can't survive on it. Not in this country, you can't.
And to talk more about the president's speech, Dee continues our discussions. We are also joined by Dr. Michael McCoy from Rutgers University and Paul Oster. He is the CEO of Better Qualified. So great to see you and Happy New Year. I guess we can still say that.
Yeah,
we haven't seen you since then. Let's just talk about the speech and just what did you feel his tone was? What did you think of the president's tone? Because this was definitely a very different speech than we have seen in the past. Dee, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's weaker than usual because, you know, I never agree with his policies very seldom, but I've always said he's a good spokesman. I don't think he did a good job this time, and I thought was most telling as far as what the content was the fact that he barely mentioned Obamacare, which, hello, is a huge problem for the Democrats now, which is why I stayed away from it, you know, but it's named after him. It's supposed to be his marquee policy. He barely mentions it. Very telling.
Interesting point. Dr. McCoy.
You know, I thought his tone was interesting, and it was striking to me. It's not what I expected, because I felt like the president, even during the election in 2013, just felt deflated a lot of times. This time he seemed almost weirdly carefree. Like, I'm just going to say what I feel like. He didn't say anything particularly bold, but his tone was, I mean, sometimes he was cracking jokes. He was sort of leaning to the side while he was talking. He seemed both energetic and laid back. It was an interesting tone that stood out to me. I don't know how I judge it, but it was unexpected.
And Paul, what were your thoughts just on the speech?
He's making me nervous. You know, I think he's becoming more and more defiant. I think about the kid in the class who demands respect as opposed to earning it, and he's running out of content and policies and procedures that have worked under his leadership. So he's actually has this carefree attitude. He wields the pen. So at the end of the day, if you like him, you don't like him, forget about bipartisanship. I think we're moving further into like a cartel dictatorship type thing. He's going to enact things whether or not no one agrees with him.
Well, let's talk about something that's up your expertise since you're a financial guy. Let's talk about that minimum wage from $7.25 to $10.10. And he's pretty much saying with or without Congress. And I agree with you on the defiant tone. I mean, he's one of the very gifted speech giver. I think he's one of the best that we've seen in many years. But this definitely had a defiant tone. Talk to me about this latest executive order. He says that
Well, it's one of those situations where we're going to throw money at a problem. It's not going to fix the problem. It's one of the largest jumps in the minimum wage. If you look back, the highest one was around 1968. The lowest was in 1948. And we're somewhere right in the middle right now at $7.25. So when you couple that with Obamacare and you're going to enact, and he's not talking about just federal minimum wage. He wants to intercede in states and force them to raise it across the boards. That, to me, is you're talking about a man who's starting to lose control, and he's going to do some damage that will be very hard to undo. Because it's not just the person.
Let me ask you a question about the minimum wage. How many people will benefit from it?
Well, if it's just the federal minimum wage, you're looking at about 2 million people, which is a drop in the bucket. But again, what he wants to do is not just on federal future contracts. He's talking about forcing states to raise the minimum wage. And you're not just talking about someone who goes from $7.25 to $10.10. You're talking about everybody. If you're $8.50, if you're $9.75, you have to get bumped up.
That jump.
Anybody below $10.10 will have to get that jump, and that could pulverize us. That could paralyze small businesses for sure.
Well, I know it'll it'll hurt the small businesses, but in terms of the economy, I want to get back to you. I just want to find out from Dr. McCoy, what do you think about raising the minimum wage almost $3?
I was listening to Speaker Boehner's comment, and I'm just questioning how many people this is going to affect. I mean, even going to the points you were making, that would it? So I want to ask you a question, because this I was unclear on. Will this mandate actually force state governments to also raise their minimum wage? I didn't have that understanding.
That's what he's looking to do.
Yeah.
So the first thing is to do the federal minimum wage.
But can he actually force state governments to do that?
Well, that's the big question.
He can, again, wield the pen and put an executive order into place that would force states. And then you're talking about, someone in a less productive state where the cost of living is that much less doesn't need to be at 10.10, as opposed to if you live in downtown Manhattan, maybe you do need to be at 10.10. But to do it across the boards is.
What I'm concerned about is that obviously from the economy, we're just coming out of the Great Recession, and now all of a sudden people who are still struggling to get by day are going to be forced to pay these higher wages. What's that going to do? How many businesses could that shut down?
Well, one, even if he can mandate this, it would only be on a government level. So it wouldn't be something you are forcing small business to do. What I really see this, maybe my bias is as political science, that's the lens I see this from, is I really see this as him mobilizing the Democratic base, particularly the union base, because I think President Obama's focus right now is saving the Senate for the Democrats. And so what he really wants to do is mobilize the union base and basically saying, fire them up and restart again the Obama machine that won the 2012 election.
Yeah, but he's got Obamacare on his back.
He's got, and that's exactly why
he's doing it. That's why I think it's a bad idea, but I do think you're right. That's why he's doing it. But it makes him look like it's a huge overreach, that he doesn't care about Congress. His whole point when he came into office, we're going to bring everyone together. It's been more polarizing now than it's ever been. And, and forcing states to do something they don't want to, oh yeah, that's going to go over real well.
But that's the thing, is the Democratic base right now is angry. They're angry on multiple levels. And one of the things they're angry at the president about, you said earlier, this legislation is named after him. To be fair, Republicans named it Obamacare, not the president himself. But it's made his administration look bad.
Yes.
Democrats are angry on multiple levels. They feel like the president is incompetent. And so what he needs to do is he needs to fire that base back up. If they're going to hold the Senate, that's their mission right now.
Let me ask you a question. Out of the executive orders that President Obama has signed, he's only signed 147, the fewest of any president. Let's talk about, why did he talk about immigration? That was something that he
did talk about.
But he really didn't address that as well. And this is something that he may have been able to bring the parties together, but again, he barely mentioned it.
That's actually why he didn't talk about it. I think immigration is the one thing he actually thinks he can accomplish through Congress. So he didn't want to say too much about it and get people to run away. For instance, in his speech,
that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
In his speech, he actually complimented Marco Rubio for an initiative. Senator Rubio, in response, basically both sent out a statement and publicly stated, oh, I'm not with the president, and actually felt like he had to distance himself. He's purposely not talking about immigration so the Republicans might actually do something.
Yeah, if we do, we're done. Okay, right. If we do this, we're done. So he is trying to be nice. I agree with you on that. But if we do it, our party is over with. We cannot go where Obama wants to go. We're finished.
And where a lot of Republicans want to go.
Yeah, and they're
I do want to
crazy
talk
do it.
about the Republican response, and Dee Dee, that's certainly, I'm going to just hand that over to you, the Republican response after his speech.
Well, I thought the best part of it was Kathy McMorris Rogers, who I've met, and I love this woman. She, you know, she had a baby a few weeks ago, and she did a fabulous job as a strong woman. And I thought what President Obama said was, in the speech, I thought it was sort of disrespectful to women when he said, "Oh, women don't make as much, and we will give you this career." And I'm thinking, buddy, you're not giving me anything. And don't say women aren't doing as good of a job. I thought it was very condescending and insulting to women. So I loved it that Kathy McMorris Rogers came on, and she said, "No, we earn our way as Americans. We're not given anything." So I thought it was a nice contrast.
And Paul, what did you think about that comment? Did you feel the same way?
I do, you know, so again, they don't want to stand by him or anywhere near him on the things that he's saying, and again, they're just trying to distance themselves as far as they can.
Yeah, they often say the job of being president of the U.S. could be the loneliest job in the world. I can't imagine what he's thinking right now. Final thoughts on just going back to the minimum wage, Paul, just in terms of how this could affect the economy if this does go through.
If you want to do it, you know, do it over a period of time. Don't do it so drastically, for sure. Let Obamacare kind of play itself out. No one really is sure at this point where it's going. And I would agree that, you know, a person who is working full time should not live below the poverty level in the country. But again, you can't throw money at people and expect that to cure the problem. The problem is that we don't have a national preschool education program. The problem is, you know, they look at things and they say, well, the disparity in the economy is growing every day. And the people without high school diplomas, or those numbers are growing. Well, get a high school diploma.
Or get another job.
Or get another job. Right. So my mom went back and got her GED because she was cleaning houses to raise 3 boys on her own. She went back and got her GED, and then she went to work for 3M, and she worked her way up. So I can speak from the heart when people say, you know, look at the foreign-born population,
sure.
13% or more. People, English as a second language doesn't make sense to me. If you're in this country and you want a good job, learn our language.
Yeah.
So that makes no sense to me at all. But if you want to raise the minimum wage, it's got to be done a little bit more rationally than he's talking about.
One of the things I did love about the speech, and because I have the education background as well, but he said he wants to get all schools connected with high-speed internet access within 5 years. I certainly hope that one does happen. Anything else you'd like to see in the next 4 years, Dr. McCoy, if you could be on his advisory panel?
Oh, well, I mean, so many things. I just want to see them get the full healthcare system correctly working as it's supposed to be working. That would be my #1 thing I'd like to see happen on the domestic level. My expertise is more in foreign policy, so I was interested in what he was talking about in terms of Iran. And I'm actually glad he sort of stood up to Congress and said, I will veto any legislation you seek to pass that tries to derail the very delicate negotiations that are going on with Iran right now. We don't need this to be a time of congressional meddling on this. So I actually, as someone who pays more attention to foreign policy, I was very glad he said that. I'm glad he's taking that stance.
I will say, and Dee Dee, I want to give you your final thoughts as well, but I will say one thing just from watching the speech, because they were just up on the screen there, just watching when the bipartisanship, when the Republicans stand up and clap, it's almost comical that I sometimes think that anybody overseas watching it is rather almost comical, and Boehner's sitting there all growing and all that kind of stuff.
Seriously.
He's darker than Obama, and that's saying something, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Look at him, he's like camouflaging.
Well, and I'm just hoping that this overreach and people see what Obama's really all about, and we win back the midterm and then win back the White House. So I really am not happy with these policies at all.
All right. Well, we thank you, Paul. Great to see you. Happy New Year again. And stick around, everybody. Don't go away. When we come back, we're going to be talking about scandals in New Jersey. We'll be right back.